Hello and welcome to the Frontington and Backwoods Railway for the third and probably final part of this mini-series following the transformation of my old Hornby Smokey Joe into a Great Western tank engine. There's a link to the playlist if you want to watch it from the beginning. Essentially, I'm imagining that in a vaguely plausible alternate reality, a Caledonian Class 264 tank engine was bought by a Welsh colliery, before being inherited by the Great Western Railway during grouping, and after a bit of a repaint, it ended up on my little fictional branch line in South Devon. But before we get into the painting, I need to upgrade the performance. For testing purposes, I had installed a cheap Lays DCC chip I had lying around, which was enough to prove the project was possible, but it didn't perform very well. So I invested in a Train-O-Matic chip and stayalive capacitor, which promises to transform the loco's performance and give me beautifully smooth running. Soldering those tiny wires was rather fiddly, so I'm afraid I had to do that off camera. The wires will need some tidying up, but it works. Just about. It's still not particularly smooth, but that might sort itself out with a little tuning and running in. Now onto the fun bit. I'm using Railmatch GWR green acrylic paint, which I'm applying to the bodywork in several thin coats with a paintbrush. The colour hasn't come out particularly well in the video, but I promise you it is actually green. To water it down, I'm using water, surprisingly enough. I'm also using some Humbrol black acrylic to cover all the black parts, even those that are already black. It just sort of ties everything together and makes the plastic look less plasticky. It also covers over the new metal details I've added, like the lamp irons and handrails. And the buffer beams also got a few coats of Humbrol red acrylic. I have to say, I'm really liking these acrylic paints. They're so much easier to use than the enamel paints I used to use. Of course, there are no true prototypes for this model. The Great Western Railway never owned a Class 264, so there are no reference photos I can copy. But I can take inspiration from other locomotives and the way they were painted. For example, most pannier tank locomotives had the front of their tanks painted black to match the firebox door, so I did the same on this. Of course, I later remembered that they did end up with a few saddle tank engines, like Trojan and 813, and even made their own little 1361. And looking more closely at those, I realised that they painted the front of the tanks green, so I had to go back and fix my mistake, which you'll see later. And after a few coats, this is starting to look very promising. The green has a satin quality to it, while the black is completely matte, which works really nicely. And keeping the paint thin means I've mostly avoided any visible brushstrokes. To get the body back on, I needed to fit the electronics in place. And after a bit of trial and error, I ended up with both chips blue-tacked to the inside of the body. Proper pro technique, that. And with the body reinstalled, this is starting to look rather good. And up against my other locomotives, most of which are made by Bachmann, the paint is a fairly good match. I mean, not perfect, but close enough. To fix my mistake with the front of the tank, I had to be really careful of the funnel. So to avoid any nasty surprises, I wrapped it in some masking tape. And I'm glad I did, as there were 2 splodges of paint on the tape when I was done. But, you know, better to have splodges on masking tape than on the funnel itself. The sides of the tank are still rather bare though, so I bought a sheet of press-fix transfers from HMRS. They're a group of volunteers, which is amazing, so huge thank you to them for all they do. These transfers were so easy to use. I just cut out the bit I wanted, taking care to only cut through the thin film layer and not the supportive card underneath. Tweezers came in very handy here, and some magnifying glasses. And once carefully cut out, I gently offered up the transfer to the loco. You'd have to be pretty precise here. Although you can peel it off and reposition it if you need to, it's better to get it right first time. And once I was happy that everything was lined up, I pressed them firmly into place with my finger. Or thumb. Yeah, that's definitely my thumb. But, you know, feel free to use whatever pointing implement you have handy. And then I applied some water using a cotton bud. You can see how the backing paper absorbs the water and turns transparent. And once it's soaked, it just pulls away with the tweezers, leaving the transfer in place. Oh, that's beautiful. And I then remembered that I had some lamps lying around. Technically, they're not GWR lamps, so the purists will shout at me here, but in the era when locos had the full Great Western text on them, the lamps were red, so I decided to paint these. Fiddly, but not too hard, and definitely worth it. I'll probably do this with all my other lamps one day. And the final detail, for now at least, is the cab number plates. Now I've settled on the number 1264, which alludes to the locomotive's heritage as a Caledonian Class 264. The GWR would probably have preferred to use a number beginning with a 13, as they did with many of their other inherited locos, but I'm more likely to remember 1264. So I put together the graphics on my computer, scaled it to size, which I think was about 7.5mm wide, and printed it onto photo paper. Cutting it out was fairly straightforward, although it leaves the white edges of the paper showing. But no matter, I can easily make that look more deliberate by running a gold permanent marker around the edges. Perhaps not as fancy as an etched number plate, but I do think this is marginally better than a transfer or printing directly onto the body. To glue it in place, I used a spot of rocket card glue. It grabs pretty quickly, so any tweaks to the placement have to be done quickly, but it seems to hold nicely. And I can honestly say I love the way this looks. It's turned out exactly how I imagined when I started the project, which isn't something I can always say about modelling projects. The Smokey Joe I had as a kid lives on. At least it will if it works. No, that's still not great, is it? And no matter what I tried, I just could not get it to run smoothly, even with that magical stay-alive capacitor. I think, at the end of the day, the problem is the chassis. I mean, it's already getting on for 40 years old, and it's seen some abuse in that time, let's be honest, so it's no surprise that it's not in pristine condition. So I went online and bought myself a new chassis. This time one of those Chinese manufactured ones that are geared slightly slower. And you can tell at a glance which is which because the gear wheel on the driven axle is black instead of white. And the metal used on the wheels and connecting rods is slightly darker. And it says made in China. Of course, that did mean taking it all apart. Again. But I'm used to that by now. Having already modified the chassis so that it would have lovely slim couplings, I thought I'd just swap the wheels and motor over. but as it turns out the wheels aren't removable. So I rescued the couplings and made the same modifications on the new chassis, cutting away what I didn't want and gluing the couplings in place. And yes, I'm using wire cutters to chop the plastic. Don't judge me. And then I could sort out the electronics. The capacitor isn't needed on DCC, so that goes in the bin. This new chassis also had a resistor in there too, presumably to help slow it down. And then it was just a case of soldering the DCC chip back in place. And the result? Well, let's get it back on the track and try it out. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Still jerky and stuttery and awful. Oh, something's not right here. After a bit of head scratching, I realised that the track was just dirtier than I realised. And while that wasn't a problem for my other loco, it was clearly too much for this little 040. So I cleaned the track. And I tweaked a few settings to fine-tune the speed and acceleration, and now it's silky smooth and beautifully quiet and realistically slow and flipping gorgeous! Oh, I am so pleased that this finally turned out okay. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it's better than I expected. Yes, it's still a little bit coggy when it's crawling, but that's a limitation of the gearing, and once it gets past that, it's brilliant. So, was it worth it? Well, let's look at the cost for a moment. I have no idea what the original model cost when it was new, because that was nearly 40 years ago, but you can buy exactly the same model today, brand new, from Hornby for about £50, so let's use that as a baseline. The DCC chip was £20, and the stayalive capacitor was another £20. I bought a smokebox dart for around a £5. I didn't have the paints before, so that was another £10 or so. Transfers were £10. And the replacement chassis was another £20. There were, of course, plenty of other odds and ends I already owned, like bits of wire and paintbrushes and solder and such like, that I haven't included here. And, of course, there's all the time I've spent working on it, which is hard to quantify. But that brings the total expense to around £135. For comparison, if you wanted something off the shelf, you could pick up a Helgen 1361 or 1366, or a Bachmann pannier tank, or a Hornby Terrier in Great Western livery, or an Airfix 1400, or Hornby's rendition of the GWR Class 101. Some of these cost up to £120 new, and of course DCC chips and stayalive capacitors would be extra. My 1264 is still nowhere near as detailed or accurate as some of these ready-to-run models, so if you're after the best bang for buck, you're probably best saving your pennies for something better. But if you've already got an old loco like this lying around and want to breathe new life into it, it's certainly a fun project. This was definitely a project of passion, and I'm really pleased with how well it's come out. I mean, it's not perfect, but there's the satisfaction of knowing that I made that, and that's got to count for something. And as a bonus, my track is now clean.